Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a full 365-day comprehensive analysis of the iQOO Neo 10. Literally a full year of heavy, rigorous, real-world use later, we're looking at the hard data to answer one absolutely critical question. Does this phone still hold the crown as the ultimate value king in the mid-range smartphone market? But right off the bat, before we even look at the Neo 10 specific report card, we have to address the elephant in the room. This is probably the biggest chronological question on the mind of every single tech buyer right now. Are you holding out, just waiting for the iQOO Neo 11 to drop? I mean, it's been a year, a successor should be right around the corner, right? Okay, let's dive into this. Honestly, don't wait. Based on the extensive market research in our source material, the Neo 11 is not coming anytime soon. And why is that? Well, the industry is currently getting hammered by severe chip shortages and some pretty massive price hikes. If the brand actually forced a launch today, it would be drastically overpriced, basically completely alienating the value segment altogether. So if you're waiting, you're going to be waiting a really long time. And that makes looking back at the Neo 10 today incredibly relevant for us. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Design and Display Realities. So, looking at the physical hardware after a whole year, it's still remarkably comfortable and surprisingly lightweight, which is wild considering the massive battery packed inside. But real talk from the testing, you absolutely need a case for this thing. If you're tossing it in pockets with keys and coins or just leaving it bare on your office desk, the screen protector and body are definitely going to pick up scratches. But, there's this brilliantly fun hardware feature that totally survived the test of time, the IR Blaster. Our source shared this hilarious anecdote that I just have to mention. They actually used the built-in IR Blaster as a universal remote to, and I quote, quietly lower the gym's AC temperature without anyone knowing. I mean, it's one of those totally underrated features that comes in incredibly handy, whether you're trying to cool down mid-workout or just can't find the office TV remote. Now, looking at the screen itself, the survivability here is just fantastic. You're getting 5,500 nits of peak brightness, which means you have zero issues seeing it outdoors, even under crazy harsh sunlight. Plus, it's a flat display, which, let's be real, a lot of gamers absolutely prefer, and it handles Netflix HDR content beautifully. But here's what's actually absolutely crucial for long-term daily use. It features high PABM dimming. That basically means no eye strain when you're scrolling in the dark. Combine that with dual speakers pushing a massive 300% volume boost, and your multimedia setup is still top tier, even 365 days later. Moving right along to Section 2, Battery Life and Charging. This is, without a doubt, the most crucial test for any phone. How does the power cell actually hold up after a year of relentless charging cycles and hardcore daily use? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that gigantic number staring right at us, 7,000. This thing packs a colossal 7,000 milliamp hour battery. Just squeezing a power cell that massive into a phone that still feels super light and thin in the hand is a serious engineering flex right out of the gate. But hey, capacity is really just a number on a spec sheet. Let's look at the actual real-world data over time. On day one, this phone was easily pushing 9 to 10 hours of screen on time. Fast forward to today, after a full year of uncompromising heavy use, and it is still delivering 8 to 9 hours. Guys, a drop of just one single hour after 365 days of heavy lifting, that is incredibly impressive. If you're just a casual user, you're easily looking at a day and a half to 2 solid days of battery life before you even have to think about reaching for a cable. So how exactly did our source maintain that battery health so perfectly? Well, they heavily relied on a brilliant bypass charging strategy during their intense gaming sessions. Here's how the whole shebang works. Step 1, you plug in the included 120-watt charger while you're playing. Step 2, you flip on bypass charging mode in the settings. And Step 3, the power completely bypasses the battery and routes directly to the motherboard. It's a total game changer because it stops the battery from generating excess heat while you game, significantly preserving its long-term health. All right, let's jump into Section 3, the Origin OS upgrade. Okay, so the hardware holds up brilliantly, but what about the software? Because honestly, the software experience here underwent a massive transformation this past year, completely changing how the device feels and performs. It originally launched with FunTouch OS 15, which gave a pretty respectable 2.0 million Antutu benchmark score. But check out this comparison. After updating to Origin OS 6, that score absolutely skyrocketed to over 2.4 million. This software update literally unlocked the true power of the Snapdragon 8S Gen 4 processor. It's actually outperforming newer phones that use the exact same chip, purely because this software delivery is just so highly optimized. And we aren't just talking about raw processing power. The feature set is fantastic. This isn't some watered-down version of the OS, it is fully unlocked. Over the past year, they've packed in smart cutouts for photos, an AI image expander that actually works flawlessly, real-time UI blur for a very modern aesthetic, and this incredibly fluid animation feature called Magic Move. All these AI integrations have kept the phone feeling snappy, fresh, and completely lag-free. You can rapid-fire a dozen photos and instantly jump straight back to the home screen, and you'll get zero stutters.
Now for the really fun stuff. Section 4, Gaming and Performance Test.
So how does this absolute beast actually hold up in highly competitive environments after a full year? And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what you mobile gamers are looking for. We've got specific BGMI performance metrics taken directly from real long-term gameplay. In a quick team deathmatch, or TDM, the phone effortlessly coasts at an average of 110 to 115 FPS. And when things get heavy, like dropping into a fully loaded Erangel map with multiple squads pushing your team, it still maintains a highly respectable 100 to 105 FPS. What does this actually mean for you? Let's break this down into some directly actionable advice based on how you personally play. If you're a casual gamer, just leave the frame rate unlocked and soak in that buttery smooth 120 FPS. But if you're a heavy rusher, constantly dropping into those intense crowded lobbies, we highly recommend manually capping your frame rate at 100 FPS for absolute rock-solid stability. Oh, and for those pushing the boundaries, the Q1 chip offers an interpolation mode that boosts you up to 144 FPS. Though, a quick heads up for the competitive players out there, our source noted it does introduce a very slight gyro delay. And it's definitely not just a one-trick pony with BGMI. Briefly looking at some other heavily demanding titles, Genshin Impact runs beautifully at a stable 60 FPS, and Withering Waves averages right around 52 FPS. The phone's internal cooling setup does an excellent job of sustaining all this performance, but I do want to throw in a quick reality check from the testing. The heat control is great, but it's not actual magic. If you're sitting outside under the direct, harsh summer sun while gaming, the phone is eventually going to throttle. Keep it in a standard, controlled environment, though, and it performs like an absolute champion. Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 5, Camera and Final Verdict. All right, let's check out the optics and see if this whole package adds up to a definitive purchasing recommendation 1 year later. Here is a very grounded, realistic look at the cameras. The 50-megapixel main lens is, without a doubt, the undeniable star of the show here. It grabs fantastic detail at both 1x and a sensor-cropped 2x zoom, plus it shoots stellar 4K video at 60 frames per second. You get these punchy, HDR-rich colors that look incredible straight out of the camera. On the flip side, the 8-megapixel ultra-wide lens, well, it's decent, but it's strictly for daylight use. It gets pretty soft in low light, and unfortunately, it's totally capped at 1080p for video recording. So the crucial point is really understanding what you're compromising on. To hit this super aggressive value price point, they definitely had to cut a few corners. You aren't getting that high-end IP68 or 69 water resistance. It just has IP65, so it'll survive basic splashes. There's no dedicated telephoto lens either. And this is a big one. If you grab the base model with 128 gigs of UFS 3.1 storage, it is going to fill up insanely fast with how huge modern games are today. Honestly, upgrading to the 256 gigabyte model is pretty much a must for your long-term peace of mind. Which really leaves us with this final, powerful question. At roughly 32,000 rupees, is there a better value king on the market today? Honestly, despite a couple of minor trade-offs like the ultra-wide lens and the basic IP rating, the sheer power of the processor, that unbelievable battery retention, and the massive software upgrades make this a definitive buy. The market is shifting and prices are creeping up everywhere, but right now, a full year later, the iQOO Neo 10 is confidently standing its ground. It really makes you wonder, when the industry is forcing higher prices for tiny, iterative updates, why aren't more of us looking at perfected one-year-old flagships?